Hello! Welcome to my video. Today we're going to be talking about the spiritual teachings of Marie Kondo. So I've recently gotten back into these books and I kind of reread them again, and it struck me how much spiritual wisdom there is in between the lines of her writing. So on the surface, these books come across like just practical guides for how to tidy up your home, and they are, but they are also nuggets of spiritual wisdom. When I was reading these books, I could trace back to the spiritual teachings that they implied, and they implied a lot of awesome and significant ones. In fact, my argument is that the advice she has in her books should actually be applied to all aspects of your life. Why stop at just your home, your space, your possessions? Because there are so many gems that are completely relevant for your work life, your relationships, your hobbies, your exercise, the way you spend money. Like, all her teachings apply to those too. And in this video, I really want to highlight what they even are and kind of connect the dots for you so you have some riveting food for thought to think about. Okay, so the first point I want to kind of talk about is, why is it called the life-changing magic of tidying up? It sounds a bit like woo-woo. What does life-changing magic and tidying up got to do with each other? Well, she called it this because early in her career, she noticed how her tidying up method had a range of positive impacts on people's lives, their relationships with their families, their work. They would gain more confidence, they would know who they were better, they would know what they wanted from life, and they would be able to greet each new life event with presence. She noticed all these things, and thus she called it the life-changing magic of tidying up. From my perspective, it's the life-changing magic because her method, if you do it from start to finish, facilitates a spiritual transformation. Why? Primarily, it's because of her criteria for what you should keep, and that is what sparks joy. She says you should only keep in your possession those things that spark joy for you, and the rest you should discard with gratitude. This spark joy criteria, I honestly think, is responsible for 80% of these positive life changes that result as an outcome to her tidying method. She kind of briefly describes what sparking joy feels like. It's kind of like an uplifting feeling and you feel it in your heart and stuff, but what it really is on a deeper level is that something that sparks joy for you is something that resonates with your essence, something that resonates with your higher self, something essentially that is in alignment with you. So when you only keep those things and you discard the rest, you are doing a hectic and super significant purging process where you're literally raising your vibration by cutting the cords and releasing what no longer serves you, what doesn't have a place with you anymore, what is out of alignment with you, and only keeping the things that spark joy, that is in alignment, and enhancing them, adding to that. Because our objects, the things in our life, they are a direct reflection of how in alignment or out of alignment we are. And so necessarily when we change the objects, the things in our life, that has a impact on our alignment, like an equal impact. So when we let go of all the objects and things that no longer serve us, you are also letting go of vibrations that no longer serve you, and you're literally raising your vibration that way, and it's such a practical way to do so. So that's already cool in and of itself. But also, the fact that spark joy is a criteria teaches you something really important, and teaches you kind of a spiritual truth as well. So what feels good, that is actually what we should revolve our life around. Right now, we tend to live our life and make decisions based on what our mind thinks we should do, and for all these other reasons. It's all this really like mental thinking, and her process is all about forget what you think. It needs to be intuitively. Does it spark joy for you or not? It's such an intuitive process. because you choose each item that does spark joy for you, you are honing your intuition like nothing else. Because you're doing this for all your possessions, you will come out of the Tidying Festival with such a honed intuition, and you'll be able to live life more intuitively as a result, with what sparks joy, with your joy being kind of the North Star that navigates your life, which is actually how it should be in spiritual alignment. That is actually how it should be. That is also why it triggers such a huge spiritual transformation, is because following our joy, that is a like up there spiritual teaching. That is actually how we should navigate through life. So our emotions are a guidance system. What we want, what we feel like we want to do, what we feel like what we feel like, you know, that's actually how, like, what we should listen to in terms of when we think about what decisions we should make in life and what step we should take. It shouldn't be from this mental space, it should be from what essentially sparks joy. And that's why people come out of the process being able to make better decisions and all these things. It's just because they've honed their intuition so well through tidying up all their stuff that they also happen to make better decisions and things like that. But if we kind of see her tidying up method as a spiritual transformation, we can take that kind of spark joy philosophy and apply it to all other parts of our life, as we should. Our life should revolve around what sparks joy, and we should let go of what doesn't. How you make decisions in life, how you navigate your life, is the same way you choose the objects you keep in your life and what you should discard. It's not just in our objects, in our belongings, it's in life in general. That's what we should do. And so the two, go really well hand in hand together like that. So the other half of that coin is, besides knowing what to keep and what you should do, the other side of that coin is letting go of what is out of alignment, what doesn't serve you anymore, what you no longer need. And Marie Kondo has teachings on that as well. So in a section in her book, she talks to a common reason that we have for not throwing something out. This applies to our lives as well. And it's that we feel like it's a waste. We feel like it's a waste if we throw out that t-shirt even though it's a perfectly good t-shirt. If we perceive something hasn't fulfilled its purpose and we haven't used it like it should have been used, we feel like it's a waste to throw it out if it can still be used in that way. And so we don't want to. But Marie Kondo says something really interesting in response to that, and she's like, look, you would be surprised at how many things have actually fulfilled their purpose. And that's because their purpose wasn't what you would think at face value. She really asks you to really think about what the true purpose of things were. Don't just think of it as, well, it was made for this, so that was its purpose in my life. No, in fact, that is not the case most of the time. You actually have to see things and the objects in your life from a higher perspective. And that is, you know, that shirt, right, that you think it's a waste to throw out? Maybe its purpose was to teach you that you don't suit that shade of red. If you learnt that lesson, its purpose has been fulfilled. You can let go of that without it being a waste. That's really important, because we don't let go of all these things, and this is in our life as well. Maybe we got a qualification for something. Oh, it'll be a waste if I don't use it. Or maybe we got into a relationship and we've been in it for 3 years, and it's like, oh, but it will be a waste if I break up with him now. It will be a waste of all those years. We use this excuse of waste, not just with our belongings, but with our life in general. These things go hand in hand. So when we change our mind on one, we change our mindset on the other as well. So we need to really think about what the true purpose of the things in our life really are. And this is enlightening. And let me just add something there. If something no longer sparks joy for you, its purpose can never be its face value purpose. Because its face value purpose implies that it remains in your life in some way, shape, or form. I don't know, getting qualifications. Oh, well, it's face value purposes, you use those qualifications. Or like that shirt. Oh, its face value purpose is that it should be worn. If it no longer sparks joy for you, that is not either of their purposes. Because if it was, that would mean that they would have to stay in your life, but it's out of alignment, so that cannot be the case. Their purposes are always to teach you something about yourself. So if something no longer sparks joy, it taught you something about yourself, and think about what that thing was. In the case of the qualification, it taught you, why I actually don't want to become a PT fitness coach. I guess I found that out. And with the shirt, it's like, okay, I don't suit that color red. That was its purpose. The purpose was to teach you about yourself. And then you let those things go without it being a waste. And in this way, you have a much looser relationship with your belongings. And this is kind of interesting because it ties a lot to Buddhist teachings on non-attachment. So Buddhists understand attachment to be a source of suffering. Things shouldn't be relied upon because they don't remain the same or last. By nature, things as well as our lives are transient, temporary, and prone to changing. By having a looser relationship with things, we cultivate greater acceptance and can navigate the seasons and chapters in our life, especially the transitions, with more grace. We will be able to go with the flow more without clinging desperately to things that are falling through our fingers like sand, or that are familiar and poisonous. So when you see things and situations in your life, not at face value, but for the kind of, from a higher perspective of what the purpose they actually serve are, you begin to have a much looser kind of attachment to them. And this is great because we get ourselves in so many situations in life, and we stay stuck in so many situations in life because even though we don't want to do something anymore, whether it's like a social obligation, a job, a relationship, something, we give ourselves all these reasons why we should still. But the fact is, if it doesn't spark joy, its purpose has been fulfilled. So when we identify what that purpose is, we actually can let go of it with a lot more ease and grace. We will have realized that there's nothing wrong with it not being what it was supposed to be anymore. There's nothing wrong with it with it not remaining the same or staying. And so we can let go of it more easily. And this is the ebb of life, which is really important. Because if you don't allow the ebb of life, the kind of letting things go and stuff, you actually don't let the flow happen either. The ebb and flow are kind of a dual pair. You can't have one without the other. You literally can't. So you can't have things working out in your life, flowing, and be walking on your soul's path in alignment with yourself and your desires and in the direction of your soul purpose. You can't do that if you don't let go of things at the same time. You know, that's the flow coming into your life, but there has to be an ebb as well. And this teaches you why you should let the ebb happen. It's because those things have fulfilled their purpose, and that was kind of mind-blowing to me when I first understood it from that perspective. Yeah, so like I was saying, when you allow the ebb, you allow the flow to happen as well. And if you don't allow the ebb, you can't properly respond to the desires and callings flowering in the moment as well, and that makes you stuck. You need to allow the ebb, as it is an essential part of being open to life and flowing with the universal currents of it. You can't be on your path and be in flow properly without letting go of things. Only then can you truly attend to what's, like I said before, flowering in the present. Only then can you be in sync with your higher self and your divine expression. So, yeah, when we struggle to let go of things, we're not actually in the present moment. And if we're not in the present moment, we can't respond to the things that spark joy in the way we should, because we're being bogged down and like clogged by all these other things that are energetically getting in the way, because we've got all these pins and all this unfinished business. And if we just let those things go, we have way more energy to focus on what we should actually be focusing on what's actually sparking joy, which is what is in alignment. Like, this is all, when you get both sides of this coin is like spiritual alignment. The next awesome spiritual teaching of Marie Kondo is one on gratitude. So that shouldn't be surprised if you read the books. Like, she always goes on about how when you do discard things and let things go, you need to do so with gratitude. Her teachings on gratitude, though, they go so far beyond typical how to be grateful advice. And let's back up though, because the reason we should cultivate gratitude, spiritually speaking, is because it's an extremely high vibration. It is much closer to the vibration of your higher self, like almost any other vibration. This feeling of gratitude, when we embody it, things will go well. It can only manifest things to be even more grateful for. It's a great kind of magnet to have. If you're feeling grateful, you can attract more things that make you even more grateful. It is something that we should strive for, but typical how to be grateful advice is so shallow in comparison to the way of life she describes here. I mean, literally, it's like you would have heard, write 5 things to be grateful for every day. That is gratitude. But hers goes much deeper. So step 1 of living with gratitude is, say you've discarded everything in your life, every object in your life that doesn't spark joy, but also every social obligation that doesn't spark joy, every relationship that doesn't spark joy, this is really intense spiritual transformation work. Once you've let go of all those things, you'll be left with what does spark joy. But you don't just kind of like sit with that. No, she recommends now you have to actively, as a spiritual practice, cherish those things. They spark joy for you as is, but you really need to like amplify that joy, like really let them spark joy for you. It is only when you appreciate something that you get the joy from it. So that's where the cherishing comes from. You actually have to give love, and then the more love you give, the more love you get in return, the more joy is sparked. This all kind of sounds like, to me, the practice of romanticizing your life. So important part of living with gratitude is, cherishing your things and romanticizing your life. Another teaching she has is that besides just cherishing what does spark joy for you and amplifying it and adding to it as part of living gratefully, even the things you need in your life that you can't discard but that don't spark joy for you, whether it's like your hammer or your car rego, these are things that might not necessarily spark joy for you, but nevertheless, she says that you can actually come to be grateful for them. She says how you do that is you give love to them. Because she says, if there's something you need in your life, if they are those things you need, make no mistake, but they do contribute to making your life happier. Because what if you didn't have them in your life? Say it's a vacuum cleaner. That's not a particularly exciting object to own. But while it itself might not spark joy for you, do you like clean floors? Does that spark joy for you, the idea of having clean floors? Okay, if it does, then hello, the vacuum cleaner. That's what the vacuum cleaner gives you. It's realizing that, and then recognizing the purpose that those things serve in your life, what problem they solve, especially the problem you'd have if they weren't in your life. That can really give you joy where you didn't have it before. So even with your car registration, you got to pay. Nobody really wants to do that. But what if you didn't pay it? You wouldn't be allowed to drive your car. Does that spark joy? Would you really choose not to pay your car rego if you could decide? It's just like with these things, we think we don't really have a choice but to do it. Oh, I need it, but I don't want it. But you do have an actual choice to do that. But there's a reason we don't make the choice to not do those things. It's because our life will kind of suck as a result. Well, it's then something to be grateful for, how our life doesn't suck. Thank you, Car Rego. Because of you, I can drive my car. And so she teaches you how to feel grateful for even the things we don't really feel grateful for, and it's about recognizing them for what they give to our lives and what they do for our lives, and showering them with love and appreciation, and then eventually they will start to spark joy for us, that we will get a return on the love we're investing, and it will no longer be like a drag, you know? So that's the second teaching on gratitude. And the last thing I want to mention is that in order to cherish your belongings that spark joy, and to notice what the true purpose of things are, in order to even be able to do that, you actually have to be really mindful about your surroundings, really mindful about all the aspects in your life and how they support you. This actually makes you way more grounded and way more present. Like overall, as a result of this method, and as a result of what it teaches you, become way more grounded, you become way more mindful, you become way more present. You live in the present now. You live intuitively. What sparks joy, your emotional guidance system, is what navigates you through life. You're way more on path to your purpose, in path to the manifestation of your desires. You are feeling joy and gratitude way more frequently because you're making a practice out of that. Like boom, 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 boom. These are all the outcomes. And these are all the teachings that Marie Kondo's method instills in you, if you kind of read in between the lines. So I kind of covered a bit today, and I tried my best, but I hope I did at least give you kind of the insight or the realization that there is a lot more to this than meets the eye. If you're interested in, you know, spirituality and spiritual alignment, and you want to get more into alignment yourself, and you want to find your purpose and manifest your desires, you should really check out the life-changing magic of tidying up, and really do her method as a spiritual practice that facilitates a spiritual transformation. Do it with intention and mindfully, understanding that the changes you're making to your objects, to your space, to your possessions, they don't just stop there. You can actually apply the same philosophy, the same kind of teachings on gratitude, the same teachings on following your joy, the same teachings on non-attachment to the rest of your life as well, and you should. And if you do her course with that in mind, you will get so much out of it spiritually. I think it's insane. I highly recommend you consider it. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you again in the next one. Bye.